Hey guys, so for my fourth social media account, I decided to use Tumblr. I was very unfamiliar with Tumblr, and to be completely honest, after using it and trying to figure out exactly what was going to go for it, I'm still relatively confused as to how it works, and I really don't think it's beneficial for the league. What I was hoping to get out of Tumblr was I was hoping it was a place or another avenue where I could get fantasy updates as well as hockey updates, that maybe I could repost to either Facebook or to our Twitter account, or somehow in a way connect all three or all four between that and the blog post as well together. And I really couldn't figure out how to do it, or I didn't really find any relevance within it. When I started following hockey leagues or hockey posts within Tumblr, I began to notice that a lot of the stuff is updated relatively late. I had 9 and I unfollowed because one was just a meme, and that ended up becoming more annoying than anything. My page ended up getting relatively cluttered. But anyway, I decided, I noticed, like, let's say the NHL page has been updated, 3 years ago. Maroon Fantasy Hockey was updated over 3 months ago. So nothing is really up to date for the most part, except for hockey players as a kids. Where I guess they post pictures of these guys, of hockey players, as like little squirts, and that was updated 4 days ago. So that really doesn't really help or benefit the league, the way I was hoping it would. And to be honest, Tumblr ends up being, it's more of a waste of space. There's so much extra, around the screen, here and here, and that when you scroll down, you just have this bar within the middle, but there's nothing else there. It's just I didn't particularly like it after I started using it. It's just it just doesn't seem to be working for me as what I was looking for and what I was hoping it would do. I was hoping maybe I would have, like I said, fantasy updates as well as maybe videos. There are pictures within, here for Halloween. I guess this guy and his girlfriend are dressed up as, he's the cup keeper and she's the Stanley Cup, and that's funny and all, but that doesn't help us, while we're looking for, fantasy hockey updates. So when I looked back and I thought, how it could help, I was looking at, our blog page, and, on the blog page I was able to write updates about, within the league. I know one of my earlier posts, we had a trade within the league where Semyon Varlamov was traded from one team to the next, and then I was also able to give a fantasy update on a particular player. And my newest article was about Los Angeles Kings backup goalie Ben Scrivens, who is only owned in 31% of the leagues. He happens to be owned in ours because we have 18 teams, so many backup goalies are owned. But Scrivens is going to get a lot of playing time now that Jonathan Quick was injured, and Quicker is going to be out for at least a couple weeks. So here I was able to write a more general announcement. If you have Ben Scrivens, you might want to pick him up. If you don't have Ben Scrivens, you might want to pick him up. If you have him, you might want to play him because LA is a really good team, and he's a solid player. He was in line to be Toronto's starter a couple years ago before they decided to give the job to James Reimer. But this is where I was able to post a league update as well as an actual fantasy update. Our Facebook page, it's much more intimate. It's spread out really nicely, but here I can write updates about the NHL, about our league, posts or articles about, whether it was written by me or it was written by somebody else. Basically keep our league informed as to what's going on. And then our Twitter account, I'm able to do the exact same thing as well. I'm able to, retweet to our followers, our fantasy hockey followers, or whoever it may be, relative hockey information. I can write, comments. For instance, this one here is about Cam Talbot. I wrote, Cam Talbot is the new backup goalie in New York for the Rangers. After Marty Biron got waived, and he's been an absolute stud this year, and he got his first career shutout yesterday against the Canadians. So there I was able to write something that's a relative hockey statement, as well as a league statement, because our league members are following this. But here I have relative hockey information, relative hockey stat. Whereas when I was on Tumblr, I couldn't really find much, and I searched and I tried to find relative blogs, and then I had my own little post here about not wanting to sign Ilya Brizgalov, if you're a fantasy owner, just because he had a horrific night in his first AHL start for the Edmonton Oilers, where he got 5 goals on 24 shots. And so I was able to post something that was relative for us, but as league followers, I don't know how. One, I'm not sure how our league members would be able to follow this and literally just follow our blog posts and then stay up to date with it. And I'm not sure how they can be able to interact with me or other league members like I'd like them to be able to do when we do like our blog posts, where they can comment to each other under the comment section, or on Facebook, where they can again interact with one another, post their own statements and whatnot. So while I tried to give Tumblr a shot, I'm not really sure it really worked for us. Not particularly sure I even really like, and it's a social media account. I just find it to be relatively boring looking and kind of irrelevant to what I'm trying to do, or was trying to do for our fantasy hockey community.